Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are cracking open a field that, well, a lot of people love, but very few truly master: culinary arts.
Hmm.
And when we say arts, we're not just talking about, throwing paint at a canvas. This is a discipline. It's where precision and systems, they really meet inspiration.
That's such a crucial distinction. When we talk about culinary arts, we're talking about the whole package, the study, the practice of cooking, preparing food, and running a kitchen.
So it's way more than just following a recipe card.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about a deep knowledge of how food works, on a chemical level, why some techniques give you predictable results, and how the pros get that perfect consistency night after night.
And that's our mission today. If you're looking to get that knowledge, and get it fast, maybe to elevate your own cooking, or just to understand the thinking behind a professional kitchen, this is your deep dive. We're basically giving you the shortcut.
Right. We're breaking down the framework that chefs use. It's really built on 4 core pillars.
Okay, let's lay that foundation. What's pillar number 1?
The first is method. This is pure technique, the backbone, how you handle your heat, your timing, your knives.
And number 2?
The second pillar is putting things in order. It sounds simple, like cleaning up, but it's more than that. Pros call it mise en place.
Everything in its place.
Exactly. It's the strategy that kills the chaos before you even start cooking. It just cuts down on so many mistakes.
Okay, pillar 3 has to be about the food itself.
It is. It's taste. But this is, an educated taste. It's the intentional balancing of flavor, texture, and even smell to make a dish really stand out.
And the last one, you said it might be the most important.
For professionals, it is. It's stability
Mhm.
or, consistency. Pros don't rely on luck. They have systems that guarantee the same result every single time, no matter who's on the line.
That's a fantastic framework.
Mhm.
So let's start at the beginning with the hard skills. What's the one thing that really differentiates a serious student from, an amateur?
Well, it starts with the most basic tool,
Yeah.
the knife. Knife control. But the focus is different. An amateur tries to be fast. A professional aims for accuracy and consistency first.
That's such a key point. The guide we looked at really emphasizes making cuts that are smooth and sure. It's about safety and accuracy, and then the speed just, well, it comes later, naturally.
It has to, because that uniformity is what ensures consistent cooking. If your dice is all over the place, some bits are going to burn while others are still raw.
So consistency starts right there on the cutting board.
Exactly. It's all about making sure every single piece gets the same heat treatment.
Okay, so after the knife, let's talk about that heat, control of heat. This is where things get really interesting. We usually break it down into dry versus moist heat, right?
We do, and you have to understand that, say, low and slow versus fast and hot, they create completely different chemical reactions in the food.
Okay, so let's take dry heat sautéing, roasting, grilling. Those methods bring out those really strong, complex, nutty flavors. Why is that?
That's the Maillard reaction. It's that beautiful browning that happens when heat hits sugars and amino acids. It creates hundreds of new flavor compounds that weren't there before.
So roasting is like a slow buildup of that complexity.
Yes, and grilling is the opposite. It's intense, rapid, dry heat. You get that immediate char, that smokiness.
And then on the other side, you have moist heat. Boiling, steaming, braising. These tend to make things softer, maybe a bit milder.
For sure. Steaming is a great example. It's gentle, it cooks things fast, and it keeps the nutrients and the clean flavors intact.
And braising. That's the classic for tough cuts of meat.
Right. It's the ultimate professional solution. You use that low, slow, moist heat to break down all that tough collagen. And you can't get that texture with dry heat. You just can't.
So we've got method, that's pillar 1. Now let's jump to pillar 3. Taste. Someone's cooking, they taste the dish, and it's just flat. What's the professional's first move?
It's almost always a fix from the flavor triangle: salt, fat, or acid.
Okay, break that down.
If a dish feels heavy or muddy, it needs a hit of acid. If it's just dull, it probably needs salt. If the flavors feel like they're sitting on the surface, you need more fat to carry them.
So is the big secret that salt isn't just a flavor itself, it's an enabler of flavor.
Precisely. You've nailed it. Salt actually suppresses bitterness and lets the natural sweetness and umami of the ingredients come forward. It makes food taste more like itself.
And the acid. Like a squeeze of lemon at the end.
Exactly. You have a rich, heavy stew, you add a splash of vinegar or lemon juice, and it just lifts the whole thing. It cuts through the richness.
That makes so much sense. And the guide mentioned timing is everything here. Layering the taste.
Yes. There's an order of operations. You always start with your aromatics, your onions, garlic, ginger, and your dry spices. You want the fat to absorb those flavors first.
And then the liquids.
Then your liquids, broth, wine, whatever, that builds the body. And then crucially, your acids and fresh herbs go in at the very end.
Why at the end?
Because they're volatile. If you cook them too long, that brightness, that freshness, it just disappears.
Okay, so we have the skills, we have the flavor blueprint. How do we actually internalize this? Let's talk about mastery through practice and mindset.
Right, and the key is to practice ideas, not just steps in a recipe. The repetition has to have a purpose.
Give me an example.
Okay, so roasting a chicken, that's a master class in dry heat control and checking for doneness. Making a risotto that teaches you patience, texture, and how to create an emulsion.
And you have to do it over and over again to build that stability pillar 4.
Yes. That's how chefs get that instinctive feeling. You practice the same dish until you stop thinking about what to do and you just start feeling when to do it.
You're training your hands and your palate.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about mindset, because the skill is only half of it. We found some really profound quotes from Chef Thomas Keller.
Yes, his whole philosophy really defines the professional attitude. The first one is almost feels wrong in today's world. He says cooking isn't about making things easier or taking shortcuts.
But wait, I mean, efficiency is key in any business. Why would he say no to shortcuts?
Because for him, a shortcut almost always implies a sacrifice in quality or attention. He's talking about the discipline of the method. He says you have to take your time and pay close attention.
So rushing the process undermines the result, even if it looks right.
That's the idea. And his second quote really gets to the why behind all that work.
What's that?
He says that since perfect is impossible, the real goal of striving for it is ultimately to make people happy. That's the end game, the emotional connection.
It brings all that rigor back to a very human place. So, what about when things go wrong? The burnt pan, the salty soup.
Those aren't failures. They're just information, high-value information. If you burn something, you have to ask why. Was the pan too hot? Did I forget my mise en place and walk away?
So you use those mistakes as data to improve.
Exactly. It's all just data to get you closer next time.
And that mindset is what lets you scale up. Let's talk about the business. The global food service market is projected to hit something like $4 trillion in 2025.
It's a staggering number.
And you can't make that many people happy consistently without some serious management systems.
That's the shift. The question becomes not, can I cook this? But can my team cook this perfectly every single time?
Okay, so let's hit the top 3 problems we saw and their fixes. Number 1, a lack of consistency, the killer of any restaurant's reputation.
And the fix is standardization. That's pillar 4 again. You need one single source of truth for your recipes, no guessing. You use temperature logs. You do daily tastings.
It removes the guesswork.
It removes the cognitive load. The cook can just focus on execution.
Okay, number 2 is a big one. A weak food safety culture. The stats are pretty scary globally. About 1 in 10 people get sick from contaminated food every year.
Yeah, it's a huge risk. And the solution is not some boring annual seminar. It's daily micro-training. 2 minutes on glove changes, 1 minute on cooling protocols. You make it part of the daily huddle.
And the third problem, the one that kills profits, menu bloat and bad pricing.
Ah, yes. The fix there is menu engineering. You have to analyze every single item. Which ones are popular? Which ones actually make you money?
And you get rid of the dogs?
You get rid of the dogs, the low-margin, high-waste items that are just eating up your prep time and your budget.
So let's talk about the specific tools. You mentioned the daily huddle.
A 10-minute daily huddle before service is non-negotiable. You cover risks, specials, allergies. It's short, it's sharp, it gets everyone on the same page.
Then we have a great case study that actually puts a dollar figure on all this.
We do. A mid-sized urban restaurant, they were struggling with high costs, slow service. So they brought in a digital recipe book, a 7-day prep plan, and they used menu engineering.
And the results?
Get this, 8% lower food costs. And their guest ratings for speed and accuracy went up by 1/3. The systems paid for themselves.
That is it's undeniable proof. Now let's bring this back to the listener. We're all absorbing information from everywhere, social media, blogs, TV. We need a critical filter.
You do. And you need to understand the role of each source.
So on one side, you've got influencers and chefs on social media.
Right, and they're great for showing you new trends, efficient techniques, a cool way to prep your veg or reduce waste. They show you how to do things.
But on the other hand, you have industry reports.
And those give you the real numbers, labor costs, market trends. They show you what you need to know to actually run a successful business. One is technique, the other is profitability.
Okay, so say we see a bold new claim online, a technique that promises to be a game changer. How do we test that?
You have to apply a scientific mindset. First, turn the story into a testable hypothesis. If they say it cuts waste by 50%, you don't just believe it. You measure your waste for a month before and a month after. Get the data.
I love that. Be your own scientist.
You have to be. You can also run small A/B tests. Try technique A during the lunch shift and technique B at dinner. Track your time, your waste, your guest feedback.
And what if something goes really wrong? A system fails.
Don't just fix the symptom. Use root cause analysis, like the 5 whys. Why was the soup too salty? Because the stock over-reduced. Why? Because the cook walked away. Why? Because the timer failed. You drill down until you find the real foundational problem.
Wow, we have covered so much ground. The pillars, the flavor blueprint, the mindset, the professional systems, and a framework for critical thinking.
It's all connected.
It really is. It's clear that real mastery rests on those 4 pillars: method, order, taste, and stability.
Oh.
And consistency comes from applying those management systems.
Exactly. And we started this by saying that culinary arts is where discipline meets creativity.
Right. The discipline gives you the structure.
And if you go back and read the classics, Escoffier's Le Guide Culinaire or Point's Ma Gastronomie, they were all about laying down that structure. That discipline is what frees you to be creative.
We heard Thomas Keller say the whole point is to make people happy. So here's the final thought for you to chew on. If the ultimate goal of all this technical, operational perfection is simply to make people happy, how does mastering this rigorous discipline free you up to focus on the purely emotional impact of a meal? How does mastering the structure let the creativity really, truly flourish?
Knowing the rules perfectly allows you to break them beautifully.
A wonderful thought to leave with. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you feel thoroughly well informed.